Welcome to another impactful episode of Decoding Entrepreneurship. Today, we are diving deep into the world of scaling businesses and strategic acquisitions with none other than Marty M. Fahncke, a world class marketer, investor, and mergers and acquisitions expert with over 30 years of experience. Marty's journey began with a bang, selling his first business for seven figures just 18 months after launch. Since then, he has helped companies scale to over $1 billion in revenue and facilitated over $450 million in M&A transactions. Whether you are looking to grow through acquisition or exit your business for top value, Marty's proven strategies will change the way you think about business growth. Get ready for an eye opening conversation on marketing and acquisition strategies and how to create wealth by design, not by chance. Hi, Marty. Welcome to my podcast. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great, Vibhor. Thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
Yeah, I saw your profile. It's very interesting. You are a growth strategist, you are an investor, and you specialize in M&A. And you have devoted your life in growing small businesses, direct response marketing. So it's very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in this series, we generally talk about entrepreneurship, how a person who is just started, how your advice can help him or her in growing their business. Okay. And all about like personality of an entrepreneur and what kind of struggles they face, what kind of uh, techniques, strategies they use in growing their business right from the scratch. So first time entrepreneur. So it will help those people a lot.
Okay.
So how did your entrepreneurial journey begin, Marty?
Well, my entrepreneurial journey began as a kid, and I think I was born to be an entrepreneur. I had small businesses even at 12 years old. I never had the proverbial lemonade stand, but I did the lawn mowing business. I had a business buying and fixing up bikes and reselling them, bicycles, and then sold water purifiers by the time I was 16 years old, et cetera. So I've always been entrepreneurial. My grandfather was a general contractor. He had his own business. I saw the ups and downs of what he went through. He went through a pretty rough time during the high inflation recession of the 1979, 1980. But um, you know, it was just something that I think I was born to do, and I always followed an entrepreneurial path. I've had corporate jobs here and there interspersed, but for the most part, I've been an entrepreneur one way or the other pretty much my entire life. I don't even know how many businesses I've started, and several of them have been sold over the years, and I've purchased businesses. So yeah, I've always been involved in entrepreneurial ventures.
So you were a born entrepreneur. So it's
Yes, sir.
and you modeled your grandfather and you saw entrepreneurship in your family. So it helped you a lot, like learning those lessons, hardships, which generally people never face if they are going through academic and going through a normal life. But entrepreneurs are like different people. They are made of something different. So
It's true.
you are a born entrepreneur. So are entrepreneurs, what according to you, are entrepreneurs born or made? Can somebody become an entrepreneur later if
I
he or
believe for the most part they are born. I
okay,
have watched a number of people um, who have tried to be entrepreneurs, and then they flee back to the safety and security of a 9 to 5 job where somebody's telling them what to do, um, uh, and it's very interesting in my career to see that, and I think that you have to have a certain element of risk tolerance to be an entrepreneur, maybe a little bit of crazy, and a lot of vision. And some people are cut out, not cut out for that. They want that, the monotony of the 9 to 5 job, and they want to go to work and do their thing, and then not think about it when they're off work. And I think some people are very much born to it, and some people are very much born not to be entrepreneurs. I think that entrepreneurs can be trained to some degree, but I think you're either born with it or you're not.
You mean mindset? Mindset is the like I think uh, Rich Dad Poor Dad. In that book, he mentioned about that employee mindset and employer mindset. So they are and investor mindset. They are completely different. Okay, you have to live
Exactly.
that life. Okay. So, who were your role models? You mentioned about your grandfather. So, apart from him, who were your role models in your beginning as in career?
Yeah. So my earliest role model was a motivational speaker by the name of Zig Ziglar, who, when I was 17 years old, I was introduced to his program called See You at the Top. And his philosophy boils down to one phrase, which is you can have anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And I've kind of lived my entrepreneurial career with that in mind, and it's worked quite well. I've had the opportunity to meet Mr. Ziegler a couple of times before he passed away. As a professional speaker early in my career, I had a goal of sharing the stage with Zig Ziglar. It never happened, but I was able to at least meet him a few times and learn from him, and he's definitely been a great role model. And then early on, I had a business mentor who helped me, gave me a big hand up and helped me in a lot of ways and taught me a lot of things. And she's now retired from business, but she spends every waking moment now running an organization to fight sex trafficking and human trafficking, and puts all of her passions into that. And she continues to be an inspiration for me today, even though I first started working with her over 30 years ago. So
Superb. You mentioned about Zig Ziglar. So he is simply an icon in sales. So I've read I think all of his books, and even seen some of his programs. Super. He was literally like one of the best sales guys I've ever seen. And
definitely, yeah,
definitely, like and you mentioned about you can achieve anything in life if you just help others in getting what they want. So that was his philosophy. Super person. And he started selling, I think, cooking utensils, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Pots and pans back in like the
yeah,
1950s, I think.
yeah. Super guy. Super. So, what is the biggest myth about being a successful entrepreneur, according to you?
What is the biggest myth about being a successful entrepreneur?
Many people try to show themselves that they are very successful entrepreneur, but actually they are not good.
I think the biggest myth is that I hear people say is you're so lucky. People say, "Oh, you're so lucky you get to travel all around the world and give speeches. Oh, you're so lucky that, you have a flexible lifestyle that you can um, be in two places at once and, be at all of your kids' basketball games and scout events and everything else and still do your work and not have a boss breathing down your neck. Oh, you're so lucky." And it's a myth that entrepreneurs are lucky. They work their tails off for it. They aren't lucky. They work for it. Being a successful entrepreneur maybe there's a little bit of luck to it, but the reality is it's blood, sweat, and tears. And the things that people see that they think are luck or that they might be a little bit jealous of, it's because that entrepreneur or business owner works hard for that perceived luck and has to plan for it and make it happen. So I think that the biggest misconception is that being an entrepreneur is easy, or the biggest myth is that it's easy, and you just start a business and you get rich. And the reality is, it's very difficult. It's a lot of work. It can consume you, and
Yes.
but the blessings and rewards are well worth it.
Yes, they work 24 by 7 and they're just completely passionate about their business, building their business. Yes.
Yes.
So, Marty, what should entrepreneurs focus in their first 12 months when they start their business? You are a growth strategist. So,
First 12 months is step one is secure the first customer. Step two, secure the next 10 customers and then iterate from there because I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially startups, who They spend all their time worrying about designing the logo or building the perfect web page, or, you know, a lot of the busy stuff. It's all about securing those paying customers. And if you aren't continually doing that, to the detriment of everything else you're doing, then it's going to be difficult to be successful. And so in the first year, it's really about getting that traction and inertia, because it's that first year that's the most critical. And I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but it's something, like 75% of, new businesses don't survive the first 2 years. And the reason I see for that a lot of times is the owner gets distracted with busy work, gets distracted with unimportant things, and forgets the fundamentals of getting customers to use and love your product and service, and delivering that product or service in a great way. And those are the two. That's it. That's what your business is about. Get somebody to buy your product and service, and deliver that product or service in the best way you possibly can. If you do those two things, everything else will take care of itself. But for some reason, a lot of entrepreneurs seem to get distracted and forget and try to do other things too early on, and their businesses fail.
Right. And I have seen that many employees who became business owners, so they want to feel like business owners. So they, instead of acquiring customers, they want to first set up their office, buying good furniture, then air conditioner and all those things, and hiring employees so that they feel like a business owner. But instead of chasing customers, they want spend their time on operations and other work. Yes,
Right. I'll
very
give you an example of a story that strikes me to this day. This was about 20 something years ago. I was looking at acquiring a business, and this was an e-commerce business. I went to visit the office, and just a small office with a small warehouse in Central California. And somebody made a joke about how the owner of the business wouldn't let them buy garbage cans to put it under their desk. And there was, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 employees at the time. And they wouldn't let them buy garbage cans. And they're like $8, but he won't let us buy garbage cans. And I asked the owner, I said, why won't you let him buy garbage cans? He says, we have a fulfillment center in the back, shipping center. We get tons and tons of boxes in for all the products, and then we have boxes that we turn around and ship the products out and everything. He says, there's always extra boxes laying around. So I just tell him, when get a box, put it on your desk, fill it up with garbage. When it's full, take it to the dumpster and get another box out of the warehouse. And we don't have to spend the $8 on a garbage can. And to me, it was very fundamental to what is important with the business. And every single dollar that was spent on something that wasn't customer acquisition was a dollar wasted in his eyes. And I thought that was a great example, great lesson of, how focused you need to be on only doing what's important for the business, and the rest of it really doesn't matter. So, could he have spent, I don't know, $50 on garbage cans for everybody? Yes, but was that necessary? No. Well, that individual, so I acquired his business. We actually built our collective business. We grew to $30 million. We then, he went off and did his thing. I went off and did my thing. He then started another business, and he sold that second business to a large company for $600 million. Now, this is a guy who, when I met him, wouldn't allow his employees to spend, $8 on a garbage can. And later he sold his business for $600 million. But one thing is tied to the other, because he stuck to the fundamentals.
it was all attitude that he kept every till he became successful, a great guy. Yes, right from
Exactly.
the beginning. That's great. That's
Exactly.
great. Yeah. So your specialization is in M&A. So when did you realize that M&A would be your life's work?
Well, that's a great question, because the short answer is way too late. The Because I wish I would have paid more attention and focused on it earlier in my career. But I had a company that I sold about 26 years ago now. It's been. I built it with a couple of friends. We sold it for $1.5 million, and that was my first experience into mergers and acquisitions. I then went and started another business. I sold that business, And then I actually then I acquired that business that I was just talking about. And we grew that business, and we actually acquired a couple other businesses. Our division we grew to about 30 million, but overall we grew the entire company from 80 million to 600 million in revenues. And so I was very busy on both sides of mergers and acquisitions, both selling businesses and buying businesses, and doing strategic acquisitions and roll-ups. And then I left, but my focus was always marketing. I was always a marketing guy at heart. I loved creating marketing campaigns. I loved coming up with a great new idea, executing it, and seeing, products go out the door because people loved my marketing ideas. And so that was always a passion of mine. And I never quite paid attention to what was happening around me in a much bigger picture with all of the acquisitions activity around me, which was crazy because so from around 1999 to around 2020, I'd had, I don't know, seven, eight, nine different acquisition activities, either buy or sell, that I'd been involved in, but it was never anything that I paid attention to. It just was happening. And in 2019, I realized, like, you know, as great of a marketing brain as I have, and as much as I've helped companies grow, I've been involved in a number of deals where the biggest levers, the biggest opportunities to scale a business and make an impact was through acquisition and not just marketing. And I decided to take a more full-time focus on that. And so that's what I did. And in early 2020, think about that timing, launched more aggressively into acquisitions and started acquiring businesses. When the pandemic shutdowns happened, it was very interesting timing because everything was obviously a mess and nobody knew what to do, and a lot of businesses were struggling. And so we quickly shifted from just acquisition for strategic standpoint to acquisition to save businesses and save jobs. And I put together a group of people with funding, and we started going around acquiring businesses to help save them through the pandemic. And then from there, one thing led to another, and by the end of 2020, I was full-time acquisitions, and was able to participate in 2021, which was the record-breaking year for acquisitions worldwide. Almost $6 trillion worth of businesses were bought or sold in worldwide in 2021. And I've been, full-time acquisitions ever since, either buying and selling my own businesses, or helping others buy and sell their businesses, either through growth through acquisition strategies, or helping owners exit their businesses for the maximum amount of money to the right buyers.
Great, great. And it happened like you mentioned that in 2021 when it was pandemic. So there was a huge acquisition all over the world.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Marty, what role do acquisitions play in scaling a company?
What role? Oh, well, so as I said, I've always been a marketer. So I've always, been, if you want to grow a company, you got to go sell more stuff, right? Sell more products, sell more services. It's the only way to grow a business. And that was the way I thought for a really long time, even after I was exposed to the opportunity of acquisitions. Now I understand the power of leverage, right? So instead of, if I have a business that's doing $1 million a year and I want to grow it to do $2 million a year, I want to double it. And I want to go out and try and use marketing to double the business. It actually is, first of all, it's incredibly difficult. If it was that easy, anybody could do it, but it's incredibly difficult. Also, it tends to be very high risk and very low margin, because if you've ever tried to grow an advertising campaign, if you've ever tried to scale a business through advertising, you find out that the bigger you get, the less efficient your advertising gets. So you're going to spend more to acquire your customers.
Right.
You also, from an advertising and marketing standpoint, also from a staffing standpoint, you may hire salespeople. Not all salespeople are going to work out. So you're going to spend more on staffing. You're going to spend more on marketing. You're going to spend more on sales. You're going to spend more on everything to try and scale. And there's an old saying that, half of my advertising dollars work and half of my advertising don't work. The problem is I don't know which half is which. And that's still true to this day. That's a saying from like the 1940s, here nearly 100 years later. That's still true, even with attribution and everything else. A lot of our marketing dollar, we don't know what's working, what's not. So when you try and scale a business purely through marketing, it generally tends to be very difficult, very high risk that you can actually do it. And if you actually do it, it's probably not going to be profitable or as profitable as the first million that you make because you have a lot more waste and a lot less efficiency. So what I learned is that the better way to scale a business is through acquisition. So if you're doing $1 million a year in your business and you have somebody who's a competitor of yours also doing $1 million a year, okay, the best way to do that is to put those two businesses together. Overnight, you have a $2 million business and you have the economies of scale because they already have a customer base. They already have processes. They already
Right.
have a team. They already have the cash flow. So it's substantially less risky to do that than it is to try and market your way to double your business. And because everything's already in place and it's a lot faster and it's a lot simpler and it can be a lot less expensive. So if you want to grow a business from 1 million to 2 million, how much are you going to spend on advertising? You might spend 50% of that in sales and marketing costs to grow it. So you might spend $500,000. Well, you can buy a $1 million business. You might be able to buy that business because maybe it has net profits of, let's say, $200,000. If that business is a 3x multiple, meaning you might be able to buy it for 600,000, and you might be able to buy it for about 10% down, meaning for $60,000, you can acquire that business and put $1 million worth of revenue into your company. You can't
Okay.
do that. You can't do that just with marketing and organic
Marketing.
growth. So overnight, you can double your business and using leverage
Right.
against that acquisition, you can spend a substantially less money and have a much exponentially larger return on investment, minimize risks, and do that within a matter of weeks or months versus years. So now I'm very much the best way to scale a business is by acquiring other businesses in your space, whether it's competitors, somebody in your supply chain, whether it's who you buy from or who you sell to maximize your profits by buying your supply chain or anywhere in your sphere. That's the fastest and least risky way to scale a business is through strategic acquisitions.
Great, great strategy. Instead of focusing on marketing, it's better to acquire a business if you want to double your business.
Yeah.
So,
One,
Marty,
one caveat though I want to
yeah,
give.
right.
That strategy is only a good strategy if your current business is operating at peak efficiency.
Yeah,
If
that's
your
what my
current
next question
business
is.
has problems, you're going to double your problems by putting another
Yeah,
business on top of it. So make sure your core business
right,
is operating great before you execute the strategy.
right. So my question is, how do you know it's time to scale a business?
How do you know it's time to scale? That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that. I think that if I'm a business owner, I think there's a couple of things I want to look at. So number one, is the business giving me the income that I want to have to have the entrepreneurial lifestyle I want? If it's not, then you need to look at how can I increase the income, how can I increase the cash flow, how can I increase the profits so that I have the lifestyle I want. Next would be if you are thinking about an exit plan for your business, whether that's thinking about retiring someday, whether it's selling the business to start a new venture, something along those lines. If you're thinking about an exit, doing a strategic acquisition strategy 5 years before you're ready to exit could be very, very good because it'll show growth and it'll make your business worth much more. The other thing could be, honestly, if you like excitement, doing acquisitions can be a very exciting, very thrilling, generate a lot of adrenaline. And I work with a lot of business owners who are serial acquirers, who they just love the thrill of the deal and acquiring businesses and growing their business through acquisition. But really, it's very much a personal decision for each business owner. Do they have a goal they're trying to reach? And what is that goal? And can that goal be achieved through strategic acquisition? Then, that's the time to be thinking about it. Interestingly, strategic acquisition is very common in big companies. You hear about
Right.
airlines buying other airlines and banks buying other
Yes.
banks, and it's very, very common. But smaller business owners don't think about it as much. And it's actually much more powerful there because, one airline buying another airline, yeah, big deal. They do it all the time. But a small business buying another small business can be a life-changing event, life-changing for both parties involved. The one selling the business might, get a financial windfall that could benefit them a great deal, and the one acquiring the business can grow their business, increase the number of people that they're serving, whether it's customers or whether it's their employees, and take care of their family better. So a small business acquisition can be an absolutely life-changing event. And if you're ready for it, if you're even thinking about it, if you're listening to this podcast, then now's the time to do it. There's never been a better time to execute something like this with regard to openness of owners to sell. There's a lot of businesses that are going to be coming up for sale with a huge wave of people retiring. There's something called the silver tsunami coming, which is 10,000 businesses a week are expected to come on the market for sale from the boomer generation, who owns about 30 million businesses, are going to be selling their businesses when they retire. So there's lots of opportunity out there.
Okay, great point. So you mentioned that one of the common mistakes generally small business make if they want to double it, that they focus on marketing instead of acquiring a company equal to their own revenue. So, what is any other common mistake that generally small business make in scaling their business?
Um, Probably over reliance on third parties. One of the things I hear about a lot is, small businesses that hire consultants or hire agencies that make big promises and don't deliver. And the business owner has limited visibility into what's really happening there. And so it takes them a long time to realize that they're probably paying for something they're not getting. And so, small businesses, business owners, they're known for wearing a lot of hats. And that's a good thing because you want to know, if you're hiring somebody, you want to have enough understanding of what they're doing to know whether or not they're doing it right. And sometimes business owners go, here, I don't know how to do this. I don't want to know how to do this. You go figure it out. And they might hire the wrong person, and they don't know they've hired the wrong person because they don't know enough about their topic to kind of watch this. So that's one mistake I've seen. And then, however, I'm going to give the exact contradictory mistake. So it's going to sound funny because where's the balance? You got to find the balance. And that is the other big mistake is business owners trying to do too much themselves. You will be the bottleneck. If you have to do everything, if everything comes through you, then you will become a bottleneck that will stop your business from growing. So you have to be able to create uh, procedures that your team can follow so that things can get done without your needing to, be a part of everything or approve everything, etc. There's a really great book out called Who, Not How. And I really love the philosophy of who, not how, because it's based on if you need to get something done, you shouldn't ask how can I do this. You should ask who can do this for me, and leverage your time and expertise so that you are focusing on your core abilities and strengths, and that will help you grow the business. So I know those are two opposite. Like they sound like they're diametrically, and they are,
Right.
but they're both mistakes I see. One is business owners trying to do too many things themselves and not outsourcing to the right who. And the other is business owners outsourcing to the wrong who's and not knowing it because they don't know enough about what's happening to make sure that it's being done right. So you got to, there's a lot of kind of balance in between those two.
Okay. So, Marty, what advice would you give to a founder who is struggling to grow his customer base?
What advice can I give a founder who's struggling to grow their customer? I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's too broad of a question. I mean, that's a question that I've literally been answering for 40 years, but the answer depends on the business. I
I,
can't give
I
a
give you one
general
example.
answer.
I give you one example. Like I have seen, like most startups are run by techies. Okay, they come from some league institutes and they started the company, but they think sales is a like a low profile job. So they don't like selling. Okay. And they hire sales team, they hire sales guys, but they are too much occupied in developing product. So is it right, or uh, is it the wrong strategy? Because entrepreneurship is all about selling. So selling your ideas, selling your products.
Well, I think that's a different question or a different topic. I
Okay.
100% agree with you that entrepreneurship is all about selling. We are always selling. If you
Mm.
own a business, it doesn't matter if you're what your job title is or what you think you are the chief salesman for your business. And there's always opportunity to be selling no matter what you're doing. If you can't sell, you're going to struggle with business. So I agree with you on that. And that kind of goes back to the outsourcing to the right people and things like that. But you should always be selling, and you should always be looking for ways of making sure your customers are being taken care of. I do see a lot of early stage business owners who try and elevate themselves above contact with their customer too soon. And I'll tell you what, if you're a business owner and you don't spend 1 day a month doing customer service, you are missing the boat because your customers are saying things to your customer service team that you need to know about and you're never hearing about unless you actually get on
Right.
there, take the calls, work the tickets, answer the emails 1 day a month. It will transform your business in a big way and it will help you sell better. If you understand what the customers are saying who are already working with you, you're going to sell better when it comes time to sell your services or products to your customers as well. So exiting themselves too quick off the line where they're interfacing directly with their customers is definitely a problem I see. And if it's larger customers, maybe you're a B2B and you don't have like lots and lots of customers, you have a handful of customers, and you don't have a customer service, well, then are you talking to them at least once a month? Are you visiting them, taking them to lunch and just asking them how things are going? Do you have regularly scheduled calls with your current customers? Like you need to have a relationship with your ongoing customers in order to in order to retain them and gather the intelligence you need to get more. And so don't forget that your customers are what's the most important.
Right. So, Marty, what makes business attractive to acquirers? Like acquirers, what they look generally.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So, what makes a business attractive to acquire? So, number one, the business is profitable. Businesses are valued on profit, not necessarily in revenue. So, you want to focus on having a very profitable business. Number two, you want a business that has very clean and accurate financials. Your profit and loss statements, your bookkeeping, your balance sheets, everything should be clean and organized. If your financials are a mess, acquirers will walk away. Next is you want to have a business, ideally, that the owner is not the core of the business. If the owner isn't operating it, because one of the problems that you'll have with an owner operated business is somebody wants to acquire it, but if the owner wants to sell the business and leave and they are the business, then that's a real problem. For example, is if you're a plumber, okay, if you're a plumber and you work by yourself and you have your plumbing truck and you go out on service calls and you make a good living, right? You can make a very good living as a plumber. Um, but if you stop working, the income stops coming in.
Right.
That's a business that is basically unsellable. Nobody's going to buy your business because
It
you
can't
are
be
the
scalable
business,
because it depends on
not
you.
scale.
Yes.
But if you scale that business so that you have three plumbers working for you, and all three of those plumbers have trucks and they're all out working, and you as the business owner are managing, you've got maybe a marketing team, you've got a dispatcher, a scheduler, you've got a bookkeeper, and you've got three trucks out there, and three plumbers out there working, and you as the business owner are not out in the field, but you're orchestrating all of that. That business is worth much more. And then the next level above that is you, as the owner, have a general manager who's doing all of that. And you are above the business. You are either completely absentee owner or you're providing, maybe you're just in there providing strategy and high level support to the business, but it runs autonomously without you present. then that business is going to be worth much more. And that's what's most attractive to acquirers. So you've got owner operated, you've got owner managed, and then you've got owner absent. And each one of those has a different level of valuation and opportunity to sell the business. And then the last thing I would say is a strong operating system for your business is very attractive to owners. When I say operating system, I'm not talking about software. For example, if you were to go buy a McDonald's franchise, and McDonald's is going to supply you with an operating system, and it's going to be books that thick, right? It has everything. It says, here's the process for starting the business, right? Here's how the signs that you have to have. Hey, here's what the design of the business has to be. Everything's documented. Here's how you hire employees. It's exactly documented. Here's how you train the employees. Here's the procedure for every single step. Here's the documentation for how you build a Big Mac. Okay, that is an operating system. Everything is documented and processed and documented and easy for anybody to understand to do their role. Your business should be the same. If your business has an operating system that's fully documented and everybody is following it, that makes your business absolutely top-notch attractive to potential acquirers who are going to pay you top dollar for that business.
Wow, superb. Because it reminds me one book I read, He Myth Revisited. So he
Yes,
mentioned about three personalities that a business owner should have: entrepreneur, manager, and technician. So,
yes,
and what you mentioned, it's all that I think I read in that book, franchise model, that instead of working in business, you should work on the business and working outside the business, then you can understand the business and create a system. Superb. So
right.
it was and documenting everything, operations manual kind of thing. Superb. So
Absolutely.
that when you are running a business like an automatic kind of thing, it's an automatic machine, then it becomes a money machine, cash flow machine, and that
Exactly.
becomes attractive to acquirers. Superb.
Exactly. And let me
Yeah.
tell you the difference in valuation for something like that.
Yeah.
In rough numbers, a business that is owner operated and is fully dependent on the owner. Let's assume that all these businesses do the exact same amount of revenue. Let's assume they all do $2 million a year in revenue. Okay. The business is owner operated and fully relies on the owner. If somebody wants to acquire that, they might be willing to pay. Let's say it does $2 million in revenue and 500,000 in profit. Okay,
Okay.
somebody might be willing to pay for that business between 1 and 2x of profit, meaning they might pay you between 500,000 and $1 million for that $2 million a year revenue business. If the business is the owner is the manager, they have he's still there, he's operating, but the business can exist without him. There's
Yeah.
operating systems in place, the financials are in place. That becomes a maybe a 3 to 4x multiple business. So now that business might somebody might pay 1.5 million to $2 million for that business. Okay.
Great. Great advice.
If you have every step that I just mentioned in place, that might be a 5 or 6 times business, meaning it could be worth up to $3 million. The exact same business doing the exact same amount of revenue and the exact same profit could be worth between zero or maybe 500,000 or up to $3 million just by following all of those steps. And so that's why it's so important.
Very important. Very, very great advice. So, Marty, you mentioned in your website that you can create money out of thin air. So, what it means?
I just created $2.5 million for the average business owner right now. There are business owners right now who are in category one who didn't know about category three, and just by following those simple steps can make an extra $2.5 million on exit of their business. So that's one example. Um, I can kind of go into any business and find opportunities to make substantially more money is part of why you've heard that that out there. It's kind of a reputation for me, whether that be revenue streams that weren't identified, customer bases that weren't identified. One example was a business that I worked with that was a lead gen
Yeah.
a lead gen business in the affiliate marketing space, which is a space I've spent a lot of time in. And this business was generating a lot of leads online and then selling those leads to third parties. But a lot of those leads were rejected based on certain criteria. And so they might be generating 10,000 leads a day, and they were selling maybe 7,000 of them, and the other 3,000 were literally just going into the garbage, into a digital garbage can. And I said, what if, somebody took the time to fill out a lead form and they were interested in something. We paid money to generate that lead, and then we present it to our customers. They don't buy the lead, but we spent money to acquire it. Why are we just throwing them in the garbage? And the answer was, well, I don't know. That's the way we've always done it. So I said, well, let's pull those leads out of the digital trash can. Let's revalidate them, and then let's find a buyer who is willing to buy them. And so we did that, and it generated $600,000 in annual revenue. And it was an entirely automated system. We created some code that basically took those leads digitally, sent them out to our revalidator. The revalidator repurposed them, and then we resold the leads. $600,000 a year in an automated script that took our IT guy about an hour to write, and basically out of what we were throwing in the garbage. So those are the kind of things that I've done in my career to be able to create money out of thin air. I just look for opportunities and understand how to leverage businesses and the things happening inside a business to increase the revenues.
That's a great skill. Making money
Yeah,
out of thin air.
it's been a fun one over the years. I got lots and lots of
Yeah,
stories like that, but that's just one quick
that's right.
example.
So, Marty, what is the biggest misconception sellers have, entrepreneurs have about selling their business?
Oh my goodness. May I be a little bit self-promotional for a moment?
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
So the number of misconceptions that business sellers have are so many, and I've literally talked to thousands and thousands of business owners about selling their business, and the misconceptions are so many. I actually had to write a book, and this is all covering all the
Oh,
misconceptions
great.
that sellers have. So this
Okay.
is called Boomer Sells the Business, a
Okay.
step-by-step guide to cashing out and living large. It's
Okay.
just hitting the market now. It's just now on the market. And in it, we cover a lot of the misconceptions that people have about valuation and processes and how it works, and everything that business owners have, we've addressed, including we took the top 10 questions that people have, which are as simple as, how much is my business worth? That's one misconception people, the main misconception people have is they think their business is worth one thing, and then they find out sometimes too late that it's
Right.
worth something else.
Right.
The other problem that I see business owner is I see business owners say, I don't plan on selling my business ever. And so you say, that's fine, but guess what? Every business owner is going to exit their business at some point,
Yes.
period. And the question is, will it be on their terms or someone else's? So when there's an old saying, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. There's something that I call the 5 Ds in a B, and that can make a business owner have to sell their business even when they don't want to. The 5 Ds are divorce, disease, death, debt, meaning financial issues, disagreements, usually with business partners. Those are the 5 Ds, and the B is burnout. Any one of those 6 things is very common in causing a business owner to need to sell their business. And if they aren't prepared, then they have a business that's going to be much less valuable than it would be if they did prepare. So the biggest misconception I see is not preparing your business, even if you don't plan to sell it. So one good reason is that the 5 Ds and the B might come after you. And none of us want bad things to happen. None of us plan to be divorced. But guess what? 50% of marriages end in divorce. Well, guess what? If you're a business owner, your business is going to get tangled up in your divorce. None of us plan to get sick, but people get sick, cancer, accidents, things like that. None of us plan on when we're going to die, but we're all going to
Yeah,
die sometime.
right.
Okay. So all of these things are very common. Here's the cool thing. If you if you prepare your business for sale and do all the things, some of the things that I talked about, have an operating system, have your financials in order, all the things that we talked about. If you prepare your business to be sold and make it optimal for a potential acquirer, as you asked me that question, what are acquirers looking for? If
Yeah.
you make your business so that it's the perfect business that somebody would want to acquire, even if you never sell it, guess what happens? You, as the current owner, are going to have a business that's much more pleasurable to own. You're going to be working less hours with less stress and be making more money. And so, why not do all the things that a potential acquirer would want you to do, even if you don't plan to sell it? Because then you'll have a better business for yourself. So, if you really want the thorough answer to that question, yeah, check out the book, Boomer Sells the
Yeah, yeah,
Business,
sure,
the
sure. I will mention
5
about it.
Guide to Cashing Out and Living
Mention
Large.
about. So great, great, Marty. The points you mentioned. So, Marty, what is the now in contrary to sellers? What is the biggest mistake first-time acquirers make?
Not buying a business that they have expertise in. Uh,
Okay.
for some reason, people, a lot of acquirers, they say, "Well, I've been doing IT for 20 years. I'm tired of doing IT, so I want to acquire a landscaping business." Well, do you know anything about landscaping? No, but I just want to be outside, and I want to, I feel like I can do a really good job of that. It is really difficult to just shift from one industry to another. And so I always tell acquirers, look, instead of just jumping out of your IT job and owning a business that you might be putting a personal guarantee on and risking your home and family, why don't you go get a job in landscaping first and get to know the industry and then understand what it is you like and don't like about it so that when you buy a business in that field, if you continue to do so, you're prepared for it. That's one mistake I see. The other mistake I see is probably overconfidence in their overconfidence in the changes they want to make to a business. I've seen acquirers who take a business that's been operating for well, in one specific case I can mention, it was a business that was over 20 years old, incredibly profitable, thriving, growing, doing absolutely phenomenal. We sold the business to an entrepreneur who bought the business. The seller offered to advise for up to a year post acquisition. Look, I'll help you and make sure that everything's running smoothly and everything else. The buyer said, "No, thanks, I've got this." Went in and immediately started making changes. Fired a key employee that shouldn't have been fired, changed the branding, did a whole bunch of things to make it their own. That person put up almost $1 million to acquire this business, and it was practically bankrupt within 1 year. So I always advise entrepreneurs who are looking to acquire a business, acquire a good business, and then don't touch anything for at least 3 to 6 months. Don't change anything. Spend the time learning the business. Spend the time deep into it. Sit on the phone with customer service. Sit on the phone with your customers. Take them out, take every single employee out to lunch, visit with them, get to know them, get to know the business thoroughly and what's working and what's not before you start making wholesale changes. I've seen it time and time again where a new acquirer comes in, kind of makes a bunch of changes and the business goes south, which is very, very sad.
Okay. So, Marty, what is the biggest challenge in scaling a business beyond $10 million in revenue?
So that's a great question for me because I have a long track record of scaling businesses to around $30 million. I've built over a half a dozen businesses from zero to 30 million, and I seem to hit a little bit of a plateau when I hit 30 million. There is a mindset that of an entrepreneur who can scale a business from zero to 1 million. And that's a great, great, mindset. And they tend to be starters. but they tend to be less organized. Once they hit that kind of $1 million revenue, you got to start putting teams in a system, and maybe they aren't good at that. And they never break through. I see the next level at right around 3 million. I see the next level at right around 5 million, and then the next level at 10 million. Okay, so know whether or not you have the desire and the skills to run a $10 million business, first of all. I know I do. And I know I can run a $20 million business, and I know I can run a $30 million business. Here's what I also know. I have zero interest in running a $100 million business. I've done it. I don't love it. It's too it's too unwieldy. It gets too bureaucratic, too much red tape,
Right.
too many employees. I don't like it. So, um, so the first we talked about mindset at the beginning of this, right? Do you have
Right.
the mindset to take a business to $10 million, or do you enjoy 0 to 2 million or 0 to 3 million? Well, guess what? You could become fabulously wealthy building businesses from 0 to 3 million and then selling them and then doing it again. Maybe you don't have to take it to 10 million. If you do have the mindset, obviously the things that I talked about, you need proper systems and processes in place. You cannot run a $10 million business if you are the sole decision maker on everything. You cannot. You'll be the bottleneck. So you have to do those things. But you may need to bring in somebody to take it to that next level. You might need to hire a chief operating officer, chief financial officer. You might need to hire maybe even a president or general manager. And so you need to make sure that the expertise to take it to that level securely is there, whether you have it or whether you bring it in. But yeah, it's a different mindset. And so know whether or not that's what you want, know whether or not you have the skills. If you don't have the skills, you either need to bring in the skills or potentially sell the business to somebody that does have the skills. And by the way, there is a possibility you don't have to sell all your business. You could sell your business, a portion of it, right? You could sell a minority stake or a majority stake. And let's say you build it to 3 million and you decide, I don't want to go bigger than this. What if you sell 80% of the business and hold 20% of it, and somebody who buys it takes it to 10 million, $10 million dollars? Well, now you have that 20% stake still. So you own part of a $10 million business, but you don't have to actually do all the work to get it there. Something to think about.
So you have to stick with your core competence. That is very important, which you are good
Yes.
at. Okay. So don't be too much ambitious if you're not able to control it.
Yeah.
So
I
that is
actually have a business right now that I'm selling it's a D2C business. It's a couple of co-founders. They've grown it to $20 million a year in revenue. They have recognized the business is poised to go to 100 million, and they've recognized we're not the guys to get it there. So we
yeah.
just put that business on the market actually yesterday. And so they understand they want to sell the business or the majority of the business and hold on to a piece of it to somebody who can do it. And it's been a great run. They've made a lot of money, doing $20 million a year, but they understand they aren't going to break through 20 million. They're going to find somebody who can, and they're going to prosper when we sell the business, and they're going to prosper later on because they're going to retain some equity in the business as well. That's a perfect example of smart people who know where their limitations are and
Right.
then what the next steps are. So
Great. So
if
Marty,
anybody's
you have
interested, by the way, it's only $15 million for that business, and it's got about $4 million in profit every year, and poised to do probably, I would say, 10 to $12 million in profit in the next year or two. So it's a great deal. So
that's cool. So Marty, you have worked with so many entrepreneurs in your entire career. So what you have found common between them, common habits, or if I can ask, what is required to move from good to great?
what are we required to move from good to great? Oh, boy, that's a
Any common habits between these entrepreneurs they generally follow their entire life? For example, risk-taking
passion.
habit,
Passion. It's
passion. Okay,
passion. You know, um, we talked about at the beginning, without passion, um, you can be the smartest person in the world, but without the passion, applying that knowledge isn't going to help anyone.
okay. So what does you call yourself the adventurous marketer? So what it means?
Oh, so I spent a lot of my time not in the office. I believe that the human connections are fantastic. I believe that human connections under adverse conditions are even better. So, for example, I like instead of having a company retreat like an executive retreat in a boardroom, I'd rather have it on a mountain while we're mountain biking through a rainstorm, right? Because that adversity brings your team together,
Right.
makes you stronger, makes you more creative. Studies show that being in nature actually increases your level of creativity, reduces your stress, and increases your connection with other humans. So I am a big fan of adventurous management. So I ride a motorcycle. I ride a couple of motorcycles, but I ride motorcycles. I hike. I do I go on adventures in other countries. I'm constantly outdoors, and I like to bring my business associates with me. I feel like people work a lot better together when their entire relationship isn't based on Zoom. And when you've spent time together, like I said, huddled on a mountain in a rainstorm or battling the heat of the desert or whatever else, you're going to be a much better team, a much more cohesive team. You're going to be much more creative, have lower stress, and just be a better overall entrepreneur if you don't just sit in your office 24/7 running your business.
Yeah. So, Marty, you mentioned earlier that you love marketing. So, what are the top traits of high performing marketing team?
Say
And
that
what is
question one more time,
you
please.
mentioned earlier that you love marketing. You always love marketing. So,
Yeah.
what are the top traits of high performing? What are the tops you can say qualities of high performance marketing team in any company, especially small businesses?
Curiosity. I think that good marketing requires people who have a curiosity to try new things and to experiment and split test everything and um, not be afraid of breaking molds and breaking barriers. And I think that all starts with curiosity. Will
Okay.
this work? This idea sounds crazy, but should we try it? Yeah, let's go try it. And sometimes the craziest ideas turn out to be the most effective. So I think a passionate curiosity,
I I
an
would like
element
to
of
add
risk. Yeah,
one point because I follow diet response a lot. So Don Capel used to say testing. So keep testing any offer, any headline, anything. So testing you should have a inbuilt. Like you keep testing yourself. Don't be so much you are fixed to a point that no, it will not work, or you have to be open-minded. Keep
yeah,
testing always.
absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
So what is your favorite marketing channel right now?
My favorite marketing channel right now, so it depends on the business. I can't answer that singularly. TikTok's up and coming. YouTube is phenomenal. We're just in the process of trying to figure out how to use ChatGPT as a marketing channel.
Okay.
Google is quickly losing market share to chat, and so there's a huge opportunity there. Nobody's really figured it out yet. We're monitoring that situation. We obviously, Meta, with Facebook and Instagram can be very, very effective for direct to consumer, but it seems to be getting kind of less and less effective all the time. I'm a huge fan of affiliate marketing. I've been doing affiliate marketing for a couple of decades now. I love affiliate marketing because it minimizes your risk as a business owner to, you only pay when something gets sold, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And generally, it also is great from a cash flow perspective. With traditional advertising, you buy the ad and then you sell the product, but you had to pay for the ad in advance, right? And then you sell the product and then collect the money. With affiliate marketing, I love it because you can sell the product and then you pay the commission to the affiliate after the fact. So you can sometimes get a 60-day swing in cash flow, which 60 days in cash flow can often mean life or death in a business. So I love affiliate marketing. I use podcasts effectively for my Westbound Road business, doing exactly what we're doing here. And podcasts can be very powerful because it helps people get to know you as the business owner and entrepreneur, and it begins that relationship. Going back to the relationship thing again, begins that relationship. So we love podcasts, and then we take the podcast episodes and carve them up into shorts and send those out. And so we can turn one podcast into 30 or 40 shorts that are continually driving traffic back into the main episode, and then people listen to that episode and then they do business with you. So it just depends on the business. Like I said,
Okay.
we've got different businesses using different channels, and it really just depends on the business. Heck, I'm a big fan of direct mail. There's a lot of businesses that, you know, think direct mail is dead. It's not. People actually open their mail if it's an effective direct mail strategy because, if it's done right, especially lumpy mail, mail with something in it that makes, that you go, oh, what's in there? Lumpy mail can be incredibly powerful for the right sales tools. So I don't know that there's any one strategy. You've got to find the right strategy for your business. And again, be creative, be curious, and try different things.
So you mentioned about direct mail. So how has direct response marketing evolved since you began your career?
Oh my gosh, that's not even so when I started my career, I started in the call center business, taking calls
Okay.
for infomercials.
Okay.
And direct mail was very and catalogs. Okay, so this was telephone, catalogs, direct mail. And
Right.
by the way, the average shipping time when you ordered something back then was 4 to 6 weeks. Try and get away with that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So it's changed. Everything's changed, right? Everything has changed completely. I'm a dinosaur. I've been around forever, and I've seen lots and lots of different things. But I've changed with the time. I always try and stay on the cutting edge of what's happening with regard to marketing. So, I was one of the very first people online. I actually was the very first person to put a URL on an infomercial in the year
Okay.
2000, 25 years ago. Direct response marketers were afraid to put a URL on an infomercial. They only put phone numbers because they were afraid of losing control over the buyer experience. And I was the very first person to put a URL on an infomercial, and we did it very successfully. And now you don't ever see a TV ad, or a direct response ad without a URL on it, right? So it's changed completely, but it's all exciting. It's all new, and there's always something fun to learn every single day.
Yeah. So today we are living in the world of digital marketing, AI, automation. So what is the number one mistake according to you, people make in digital marketing?
Number one mistake people make in digital marketing. Hmm,
Maybe
that's an
uh,
interesting one.
because maybe they are not having fundamentals of marketing, and they because I can see a lot of digital marketers, but they have never been in marketing and they did some course, something, and they become digital marketer. So is it okay, or because
Yeah,
it's
probably number
like
one mistake.
IT guys also becoming digital marketer without any marketing skills or anything.
Yeah. So probably I would say the number one mistake I see in with digital marketing would be not getting correct attribution. I see a lot of kind of misattribution, and then you're spending your money in the wrong places if you're not attributing right. So if somebody sees an ad on Instagram, and they click through and they check out your product, and then but they don't buy, but maybe they sign up for your mail list, okay? And then an email from you for a couple of weeks, and so you're kind of in their inbox, and they don't buy there, but then they see an affiliate ad because now they're maybe retargeting. They see an affiliate ad on a third party site and then they come and buy. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what's the attribution? Was it the meta ad that you purchased? Was it your email list? Was it the affiliate that drove the final sale? Was it the promo code that you had on your website to try and get that sale because you might have had a first time purchaser promo code?
Yeah.
What is it that ultimately drove that sale? And a lot of digital marketers only look at the last thing. What was the last thing? And so that may or may not be what ultimately should be attributed. If that customer, the last touch is great, but they never would have had that last touch if it wasn't for the first touch. And so I think people don't get deep enough into the analytics and deep enough into the source of each customer to effectively spend their marketing dollars. So that's kind of a complex
Yeah. Okay.
complex answer, but it's what I see that a lot.
Yeah, it's very important point you made that without deep research skills, and you are just focusing on the one part of the output and not focusing on the other things which are contributing in that sale. So that is
Yeah.
required. Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Like we have an e-commerce business where in fourth quarter, Obviously, it's kind of a gift type of business. In fourth quarter, revenues skyrocket, ad costs decrease substantially, and so they say, oh well, our ROAS is like through the roof. But what they don't realize, and I had to go back and point out to them, I said, okay, here's a customer you acquired back in April, or originally contacted back in April because they saw this ad over here, and then you finally sold to them in December or November, but you didn't attribute the cost of
Yeah,
acquiring that person in the first place back to the money
right.
you spent back here in April. You're saying, oh, it was a zero acquisition cost. It wasn't zero. They got to you somehow and you paid for it. You got to do the math across all channels. So anyway,
Yeah. They don't have such kind of skills. Many digital marketers, they look generally the last part of the sale. They don't look at the quality lead, how to get the quality leads, so many things, and the
yeah,
entire process, marketing process. One last
yeah,
question, Martin.
yes.
One last question. Okay. Okay. First, before that, what I asked you, what are your views of AI and automation marketing? What do you think about?
My views of AI and automation marketing. So it's here to stay. Obviously, I think people are misusing it in a great deal. They're just going to, chat GPT and, creating crap content and then putting it out there, cut and paste, and it's creating an amazing amount of spam ads and terrible advertising and everything else. I think people are using it wrong. I think once people get it dialed in, it's going to be mind-blowingly positive. There was, Facebook recently announced that, they're building out an entire AI generated marketing department that you can go in and just upload your pictures of your product and it will do everything for you and you can fire your ad agency, right? I think that's premature that you're actually going to be able to do that. But there is a time coming when AI is rapidly changing. People are, especially in advertising and marketing, there's so many options. So, um, I saw a saying the other day. It wasn't AI is going to kill your job, or AI is, what was it? I mean, basically, AI is going to kill your job if you don't learn how to use AI in your job. That's what it was. AI will kill your job if you don't learn how to use AI in your job. And I
Yeah.
would add the words AI effectively in your job because there's a lot of people using AI terribly and amateurishly right now. But no, if you aren't paying attention to how AI might be impacting your field, whatever your business is, there's an impact. I don't care what your business is. The AI is having an impact, whether it's automating processes on the back end, whether it's data management, whether it's marketing, whether it's human resources, hiring. AI is having an impact, and so you need to be watching how it can impact using tools effectively and staying on top of it because you'll be left behind if you don't.
Okay. So last question, Marty. Uh, what is the most important skill for future entrepreneurs, according to you?
Most important skill for future entrepreneurs, a thick skin. Being an entrepreneur is tough. And there will be days when it won't be easy and you're going to want to quit and you're going to want to throw it all in. You have to be tough. You have to have tenacity. You have to have perseverance. You have to have that thick skin. That's the number one most important skill. Number two, I touched on curiosity. The best entrepreneurs I know are the most curious entrepreneurs. They don't ask why not. They ask what if. What if we did this? What would happen? How could we make that happen, right? So tough skin, curiosity, tenacity, um, positive attitude, and a passion for always learning and staying on top of your game. So those are the skills I would suggest.
Thank you so much, Marty. It was wonderful talking to you, sharing, and you have shared so many wonderful stories, your insights, your experience. I think it will help a lot of entrepreneurs, especially
Thank you, Vibor. It was my
young guys.
pleasure to share those stories here with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best for your
Have a
future
great day.
projects. Incredible conversation with the brilliant Marty M. Fahncke, a man who truly knows how to create money out of thin air and scale businesses like few can. From billion-dollar growth strategies to stress-free exits and no cash down acquisitions, Marty brought a treasure trove of insights for every entrepreneur, investor, and founder listening today. This is Decoding Entrepreneurship, and we will see you in the next episode.